Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station. This is an exciting one here today. We've had some big ones here. Reuben, who'd you bring in?
We're very fortunate. We have one of our big supporters and members, Pechanga Development Corp, Pechanga Resort, as most people know it as well in the community. We have Sean Vasquez. He's the president of Pechanga Development Corporation. He's also a Stanford graduate. He's also a USC graduate. And where else did you say you graduated from?
San Francisco State.
Wow.
That's where I did my undergraduate.
That's a lot of education.
I know.
And we're on a university campus here at UCI, so it's kind of cool. And you're also Native American 40 under 40. So
yeah,
congratulations on what you've done at such a young age. And we appreciate you being on the podcast, and we appreciate everything Pechanga has done for us and our partnership with Pechanga. So, Sean, we'd like to start the podcast typically with just you telling us personally a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, that kind of thing.
Wow. Let me just say, you guys have a fantastic studio. I love the whole vibe in here. It's really cool, and it's an absolute honor to talk with you today and to be recognized by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It's been an utter delight to work with you guys and to see what you guys
goes both ways,
do for the community.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I grew up on the Pechanga Indian Reservation in Temecula. Both my parents are Native American. My mother and my father met each other and on the reservation. I think there was probably about a 5-year age difference there. And one lived on one side, one lived on the other, and that's how they met. And there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity back then. And this is before we had resorts, casino, that sort of thing. So I was going back and forth between houses back then as a young boy. And our big thing back in the day was sports, intertribal sports. We'd compete kind of the way you think about little leagues, how they play against different cities.
Sure.
We'd play against different reservations.
Oh, okay.
And with my cousins. And that was the big news of the day. Or my grandfather would take me into the city and we'd go to the library and rent movies from the library.
In the city, you mean Temecula? Or
yeah.
Okay.
And then eventually my mother moved off the reservation. I know it's so funny. Off the reservation is like it's like a saying, right?
Sure.
And we moved off the res. My dad and his family stayed on. So I've always had a deep connection, and we'd have to go back and do tribal school, and my grandparents were always there. So it never really seemed odd for me to talk about being Native American or what it meant or to remember where we come from, because it was a daily thing. And we had these little town halls. There was a clinic on the reservation. It's still there, little town hall. And we had all the tribal politics. We're talking 4 or 5 families that were there. And we're talking whether it be the water department, the water board, the housing. It was only 4 people who were building roads, who were doing stuff like that. So it was very community-focused, community-oriented. And my grandfather was insistent, as well as my grandmother from my mom's side, were very insistent on me tagging me along, bringing me to those events, sitting in those little town halls, if you will.
Sure.
Understanding the community, understanding what the needs were, and not just that, but I think initially forcing my hand to participate and help out, whether it be boxing communities off of the government truck. So I'm a big advocate of helping people out, helping our community out, and anytime you see anybody in need, it's very ingrained in us to give back. And I think when I connect that through line today is everything we do has to be positioned for our people and for the surrounding community and for the people in the future. So it's kind of this through line that I see that was really put into me from the very beginning. Anyways, that's me as a boy. Love sports, love competing. Off the reservation, grew up in the valley, played all the sports at high school, football.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Marietta Valley.
Marietta Valley, okay.
Yeah. And that was controversial at the time because my older brother went to Temecula Valley. It was a big rival back then.
You guys had a pretty good football team, right?
We do. You know, what's funny is when I was going to school, it was just at the precipice of us getting good.
Yeah.
And we were like Division 5 back then. Now we're D1 and they're like perennially good.
They're up there, yeah.
But back then it was like, oh, we just got good. Look, we're just beat Riverside Poly. What a big thing this is. Yeah, we just made the CIFs. And that program was not, I wouldn't say we were like moribund, but we were not a great school like we are now. Where It's kind of a powerhouse for the Inland Empire. So yeah, I went to Marietta Valley, and my big thing when I started applying to schools out of high school, I was thinking to myself, I've just got to get away from the reservation. I got to explore. I've got to go see the world. And the resort was coming online. I remember it started more or less when I was a boy, and it started changing our lives. So I'm that generation that saw what life was like before reservations and before resorts, and it was a lot of hardship. I'll just say that.
Sure. And when did the resort basically break ground and get open?
So we had trailers and we had slot machines, I'd say circa 94, 95.
Okay.
But it didn't start to become what you'd recognize it until 2000.
Okay.
Like 2001, when we built Eagle 1 and Eagle 2. And the people on the PDC board at that time, Murphy, Palinkas, etc., they had a vision, and obviously backed by the tribal membership. They really wanted to push the bounds and really make sure that we could uplift our community. And what it wound up doing, besides being, let me rewind. I think the thought back then was we just want to provide jobs for our people, right?
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't so much that we were going to live off of the dividends or anything like that. It was like, we just need a jobs program.
Because how big is the community? How big is the...
Our reservation, I'd say, I want to put it at 1,500.
Okay.
The overall membership is somewhere around 2,300 with kids, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And that's a rough estimate, so I know people at enrollment are going to kill me. You don't know the exact number of tribal membership.
How many acres are you guys on?
Oh, God. Over 1,000.
Okay.
It goes all the way up into the hills. It's pretty massive. And we've expanded a little bit over time. Anything that's contiguous to the reservation, we're able to purchase, put in federal trust, and expand the reservation.
Okay.
So our ancestral homeland actually goes all the way out to the water.
Really?
Yeah. And we are, in our language, it's called Peumkuwichum, people of the West.
Okay.
And Pechanga itself means like where the water drips. It's ironic because it's so hot out there, right? But if you look back at all of our creation stories with our creator Wayo, the first man who'd walk around and stuff, it has a lot to do with him settling the community and settling the valley. And there's a lot of stories about water, and it's kind of necessity in raising these communities up.
So it goes out to the water west?
Yes.
And so what's that water? Or what
the ocean.
No, but what is it? Is it San Diego County, or is it?
I'd say our territory kind of rubs up against another native ancestry as you start heading past Vista.
Okay. Okay.
Like once you probably get past North County, San Diego, then you start running into different native communities.
Okay.
And then it goes about as far north as like northern Orange County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all along the coast there. Myself being an Orange County resident, my family, my dad growing up in Orange County before eventually moving back to the reservation. He lived in Placentia, and my grandfather used to work for the city of Placentia. He grew up in this little village over by just, I'd say, about 4 miles away from Green River.
Sure.
Now, so there's a little
golf courses.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little Indian village that used to be back there in the 20s and stuff, and it got wiped out in a flood one year. And he was telling me that he and his dad, I guess his dad wasn't the closest to him. He had to raise all of his little siblings, and he had all these little animals and stuff. And I remember, I think he said it was sometime in the 30s it snowed in Orange County. Mind you, it was all trees and kind of wilderness and stuff. And how much it blew their minds. I know I'm all over the map here.
No, that's fine. This is cool stuff.
But his community of Orange County, and then he met his high school sweetheart at high school, which would be my grandmother. I think they got married shortly after. And they helped raise all of his siblings together. And they wound up going to Valencia High. He was a big athlete there and taking care of his siblings. Then he went off to the military, and he came back, and his wife and his mother-in-law all worked in the Orange County packing houses, packing oranges and stuff. And then he went on to work for the city department for Placentia and Yorba Linda. That Indian village, once it got wiped out from the flood, either in the 20s or the 30s, it just went away. And a lot of the kids who went to that village actually had to go to an Indian Sherman school, which is more inland. Very interesting stories of Orange County back in the day. And then my dad and my uncles growing up in Orange County, fanatical Angel fans, right? myself included.
And you guys are big sponsors of the Angels.
Oh, big
today,
time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's funny because they're not doing so hot right now.
No. You know what's interesting about the team right now? They're scoring a lot of runs.
Yeah.
They're like the second or first team scoring the most runs in the Major League Baseball, but they're not.
It's the pitching.
It's the pitching. And it's been the pitching.
Yeah, it's been that way for a decade and a half, huh?
Yeah.
I remember what was our renaissance all through and you just thought, oh, well, this is going to go on forever. But anyways, so the family grew up in Orange County. My grandfather decided he didn't get the offer to go up to city planner or something. He decided to move back to his homeland, to the reservation, and it seemed like his services were much needed there, and that's where he set up shop. But we have deep roots here in Orange County, and my grandmother spoke fluent Spanish, and they would always speak Spanish in the house, and that was a big thing for us. And our tribal language, I guess the Spanish word for it is Liseño. You're probably thinking, why is that a Spanish word? And I guess the intertwining, the connection there is Liseño just meaning from San Luis Rey. That's where our people were collected, was at Mission San Luis Rey. That's why you have terms like Juaneños, Gabrielinos, so on and so forth. So you have Payam-Cuicham, which is our original ancestry language of who we are. Then you have the term Liseño that's carried on, and now we're much more focused to just our tribe, and that's like Pechanga people. So that's the brief history of both me and Pechanga. I grew up, I got out of the valley, I go to the Bay Area because I didn't want to leave the state. I got accepted out of state to school, but I just wasn't ready to leave. But I knew I wanted to go north. So I went to San Francisco State College, loved it. It was the reason I went there because there was a huge Native American contingent there, and it's famous because of the takeover for Alcatraz.
Oh, interesting.
If you're familiar with that bit of history.
Sure.
You can go visit Alcatraz now, and it says you're on Indian land and that sort of thing. Richard Oakes, who was the leader of that American Indian movement, he went to San Francisco State, and it was the first university to have an ethnic studies college, which is miraculous when you think about all the great institutions that we have in the country, that San Francisco State was the spear point of that. And they used to say that Native American men went to San Francisco State, Native American women went to Cal. Why is that? The joke is that women are always smarter. Yeah. So it was culturally significant for me to go to SF State, and they have this beautiful kind of Aztec-inspired student center there on campus and stuff. And loved my time there, made a lot of great friends. I stayed there, and I graduated in 2010, and it was like 2 years after the great financial crisis. My friends and I were working, trying to get jobs downtown. We had financial jobs, and it was a great wipeout. There was not a lot of opportunity there. And I remember my older brother was working in Orange County in Costa Mesa, and he said, "You should come back. I think you'd really like it down here." I had a seasonal job for the Angels during their All-Star game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I came down, and I spent the weekend with him, or the whole week, my roommate and I from college, and we're like, okay, we're going back to Orange County. This is what we're going to do. Packed up all of our stuff. I had an apartment in downtown San Francisco. I wound up selling that. And we found a place in Huntington Beach, and I was working for Mass Mutual at the time. And I did not enjoy doing it. It was like one of those mundane jobs. And again, following my brother's counsel, he said he was making signs at the time for businesses. And he goes, "I think there's a surfer, or a surfboard shaper, who's looking for an apprentice down Shaper's Alley in Costa Mesa off of 19th and 20th. I think I can introduce you, and maybe you're not going to make much, but it'd be a fun job."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, you're probably right." I went over to meet him. He was a great guy, James Vartanian. And I said, I'll kick rocks on Mass Mutual, because it just was not an enjoyable job, and I wasn't getting paid that much. And I decided to broaden my horizons in my early 20s, and that's how I got into the action sports industry. And this, at the time, action sports was the thing.
Yeah.
You have to think about, 15, 16, almost 20 years ago, you had so much vibrancy with all the action sports and lifestyle brands in Costa Mesa, whether it be Volcom, Vans, all that stuff. The X Games were huge at that time. The U.S. Open of surfing was massive in Huntington Beach. So I learned how to shape, sand, glass, paint, a lot of buffing of surfboards, a lot of ding repair. I taught people how to surf, taught people how to stand up paddle. And I did that for about 4 years, or probably 3 years. And he said, we're getting a lot of customers who are asking about hats and shirts and like, how do we better market this
Sure. Yeah.
factory? Could you take this on? And I got to give it to James, because he was always inspiring in terms of his entrepreneurial spirit. He's like, we're just going to go do it. This kind of robust confidence was new to me. It's not something that I grew up with on the reservation. Everything you worked for on the reservation was hard fought. And you had this guy who was also in the same socioeconomic level, but he was like, no, we're going to go out and we're going to win tomorrow. And you're going to go out and figure out how to make this marketing thing happen for our factory here. So he kind of gave me the free reins to really push the brand, to push the marketing, to change the branding, to do sponsorships, to do all this thing and really push the label to where I'm not even sure he and I thought of what we could do. I was doing that for a good amount of time, and then I thought, it's time for me to do something more authentic to myself. I love doing it, but I want to do something more connected with where I come from, because I didn't grow up surfing, right? So from there, I started my own brand, and I was doing native lifestyle stuff for a long time, and I think, I was just traveling the world and sharing that, and that was, to my utter surprise, again, because you grow up in it, you don't think it's special.
Sure.
But it really caught on and took fire, and I was traveling quite a bit, and the tribe had recognized that and said, we'd like you to come home. We have an opportunity here for you, and we want to...
And how old were you then?
At that time, I think I was probably 27, 26.
And you had only been to Sacramento or San Francisco State, excuse me, not to USC, Stanford yet.
Yeah, we want you to come home. We want you to try for the job, to get some notoriety with our tribal shareholders and that sort of thing, and we think you have good ideas. So round about the age, I tried, worked for the tribe for a bit. I liked it. But then I tried for the PDC board, and it's very rare that you get on the board as a first-time runner, and I think I won. You're going to be surprised. It's always tough to unseat incumbents. I won by 2 votes.
Wow, landslide.
Yeah. And this was, God, what was I, 34 when I got on, 33. Peak COVID, there's a lot of disruption. The resort shut down. They really thought I could provide something in terms of ideation. The first order of business, and I had ushered it and been around the tribal shareholders and the tribal politics all my life, and the place was just kind of crying out for diversification. Yeah, the resort was doing well, but we wanted something to sustain people past the resort, right? I don't think any of us thought when the gaming institution opened that was going to be our main engine forever, nor did we really want it to be. So when I came on, I said, okay, great. We need to find a way to place capital such that we have working capital and we can start using margin on it, and we can start growing it, and we can start thinking long term beyond just being earners, right? So I was introduced to a guy, great friend now, named Larry Estrada, who works at Goldman, and he and I set up the Goldman Sachs Diversification Fund for Pechanga. Now, he and I worked on this maybe 4 or 5 months in terms of its design. We had to go to tribal membership. We had to pitch this thing. And we did a Q&A, I'll just say, an arduous 2 hours of Q&A.
Okay.
I think tribal membership meetings are a lot like town halls.
Okay.
Where
or city council meetings? Or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where there's a dais, there's a tribal council up there, and then anybody from anywhere can ask questions.
Has open mic. And can,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Except the parliamentary rules are a lot more loose in terms of what people can say and ask. So a lot of colorful language, a lot of misunderstanding, and me walking this down in conjunction with Larry about the dynamics and why this was important. A lot of people had hidden preferences and agendas and that sort of thing, but it was successful. And that was my first big venture while being on the board. And I got that done probably in 4 months. So from the moment I came on, that was my first big win. Larry said, that was great. And I know we had a lot of downtime in designing this together. Felt like we were just in a bunker. He said, you've talked quite a bit about going back to grad school. I think you should do that now while you're younger, before you have a family.
Sure.
So I applied to USC. I got into USC. That totally transformed my life. I got my MBA there. From there, had several more wins, whether it be setting opioid treatment facilities. We really wanted to get that done for our community. and for the Los Angeles and Orange County community.
Sure.
Knowing the need and how much opioids are raging through. We didn't want to just do it for tribal people, despite the fact that we have a disproportionate affliction to it, but we wanted to do it for non-tribal members too, knowing how great the need is.
Huge need.
So we did that. Then we did a public storage venture with a company called Platinum Storage. Fantastic operators that operate nationwide. At the conclusion of my studies at USC, I'd gone to I think it was a private board. Yeah, it was private boards and CEOs, a class at Stanford GSB. I was just enthralled by it. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Now, I love the Bay Area because I had my youth there, my young adulthood, being an undergraduate up there, but I'd never seen Stanford's campus before until then. And it wasn't until then where I was like, okay, I'm going to come back here.
The farm, yeah.
It's
a great campus.
I know my affiliation is with the USC, but wow, the GSB is something else entirely. I talked to a few of the professors, and they said, we have this top flight post-MBA program that's just for CEOs, leaders, and that sort of thing. You guys should do it. I think you'd be a great candidate for it. You have to apply. There's a lot of essays and paperwork, and some will get in, some won't. So I applied to be part of the Stanford Executive Program, the SEPs, and I got into that, and I had completed that just last year. What's phenomenal about that is, and you're probably asking yourself, well, why do another graduate business series if you already have your MBA? And this is essentially another MBA. It's because Stanford is different on a whole host of levels, and I don't just mean in terms of raising capital and the institutions and the affiliations that they're connected to, but in terms of the mindset and the way they teach you about things, their perspective. A lot of the things I learned at USC Marshall, and
Gordon Marshall,
don't get me wrong, I am a donor to Marshall. I love the people at Marshall. Anastasia Figueroa, who recruited me to go to Marshall. I will always be donating and loving USC. But Stanford GSB taught me things about humanity, about decision making, about being human and being a leader. And our cohort was 114 or 107 people. It was 107 people and only 14 Americans.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it required us to live on campus for all of it. The kind of special ideation that goes on there, your connection with people from all around the world who've already lived seasoned cultural lives, and you're learning together in this kind of incubator of ideas, and they're hollowed halls, right? We had one of the alumnus of SEP came to us in the first week of the program, a guy named Eric Wan. He's the founder of Zoom.
Oh, okay.
And he came to us and he said, as an alumnus of this program and of GSB, I'm so envious of you guys. Now, mind you, this is like day 2 or 3. So forgive me for being a bit cynical, but I was like, what is he talking about? This guy's a billionaire. He is a founder of a company that's literally changed the world and continues to change business. And he's envious of us. We're sitting in Night Hall and that sort of thing. And his point was, I remember starting this journey. I remember this program and this institution and how it changed my life. And it's going to change yours. And he went on about the professors and on about the institution and on about the academia. But he said it's really the people. It's the people that you're going to meet here. It's the relationships that you're going to cultivate here. And he goes, yeah, there will be parties here. Because it's a different thing in terms of being an undergraduate and having a party. It's another thing of being a graduate student and having a party. It's even another thing when you're around people from all over the world and you have money and you're going to school.
Yeah.
So that was phenomenal. I got a first-class education in AI, in venture capital, and all these things and these leadership lessons I was able to bring back to the tribe, and it totally changed my perspective.
Because how long have you been president?
I've been president for about almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've obviously had a lot of education and schooling and just background to give you a different perspective to be president of the corporation. Tell us a little bit about the difference between the Development Corporation and the resort itself. And my assumption is that Development Corporation oversees kind of everything, but just so people know, what is the difference in the two?
Yeah, so The resort is kind of the anchor. It's the engine, the economic engine that runs everything, right? We use that as a capital initiator. And when I say I helped create the Goldman Sachs Diversification Fund, we started a fund that would apportion a set percentage of monies from revenues and allocate those towards a fund that would be used as passive investment. And then we'd use margin to start growing that fund and to start doing essentially the blocking and tackling of private equity. So what does that mean? That means we're going to start investing directly into companies that are different CAGR and different annual returns. I think we started really small. And then from there, we went from 5 million annually to 20 million annually, looking for different types of small businesses that we could add to the portfolio and that we thought were accretive and that we could either sell or that we could make passive incomes on. And all the incomes from these things would go back to the fund. And the idea being, when we hit 20 to 30 years, that either a temporal timeline or it be a capital timeline that trips, I think the number is 1.5 billion for this fund. We should be releasing both dividends that support the community and our tribal government, because there's always a need for welfare and helping out, whether it be our health care, whether it be the fun stuff like tribal sports, whether it be the funding of our government and our facilities, helping people with credit lines, education, and I'd say the biggest costs right now are education and healthcare, and that's probably representative of our country.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I can't believe we're running up against our time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that fast?
Yeah.
What are some of the last words you want to say about what's going on at the resort, what's going on with the corporation? And
I could spend this time in talking about the marketing stuff, but I will tell you some of the biggest things that's happening at the resort that I'm pretty excited about is we're building brand new penthouse suites at the top level, huge CapEx projects in terms of we're redoing the entire gaming floor, starting with the high limit zones. We have about a 3 or 4 year, we'll call it 4-year plan right now to totally change the face of the resort. So this is the biggest resort on the West Coast right now, and we plan to reshape it entirely and expand it. We're also going headlong into, I think it's mixed use properties, so with retail, residential, family stuff. We're going into more public storage because that's been performing phenomenally. And then I think the other thing we're looking into big time is insurance, and mostly to delever some of the costs that we have with our tribal group and our employee base.
Sure.
One of the biggest things, we always think about our tribal members, but since becoming a leader for our institution, I think more and more about our employees every single day. That's not something they tell you. It's something that's probably more commonplace in I think in the private institutions, that you're not connected to a little nation, but I think every single day about how I can enhance the lives of our employees and then trickle back to
That's awesome.
our Commonwealth. Yeah.
That's really good. So I think Paul has a question for us.
Yeah, Paul.
I can't believe that you've overlooked the most important event we should be plugging here, which is the second annual Whiskey and Wing Festival. I'm a good Irishman. I mean, you can talk about diversification and return on investments. Let's talk about whiskey here.
What's your favorite whiskey?
Mine is, I actually think it's real smoky, like Lagavulin. And
More of a Scotch guy?
I like a Scotch, but I do like Irish whiskey a lot. I'm an Irish whiskey guy.
I got to be honest with you. I'm a bourbon guy, but I've been warming up to a lot of that peaty Scotch.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
And I started trying more Irish whiskeys lately. A good friend of mine is half Irish, and he got me into trying a couple of them. And I gotta say, to me it seems a bit sweeter, but man, is it delicious.
It is a little bit sweeter. It's not quite as peaty and heavy as some of the Scotch. See, bring me out.
So when's the event?
It's Whiskey and Wings. I believe it's on July the 12th or the 11th.
Okay. Saturday the 11th.
Phenomenal.
It's the second annual Whiskey and Wings Festival, and how do we know anybody to get in?
Absolutely.
We got to find a way to get in and cover this event here.
Just message me, and we will actually supply you with tickets. We'd love for you to come down, and if you need a room, also let me know.
Love to experience. We do have a show after this with Chef Pascal where we talk about food and wine.
Oh, you're going to love it then.
Here,
We also have, on another time of the year, is tacos and tequila.
That's right. That's coming up too.
And you guys will probably teach
What's
us
the date
quite a
on
bit
that?
I don't know offhand. I think it's usually in the spring.
The spring. Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for being on. We appreciate the partnership. We're going to have you back on because we have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we really appreciate what we're doing together and what you guys do for the community as well. So, Sean, thanks for being on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
You learned an awful lot there in a short period of time about why you got to tune in to meet our community. Because our community is your community, right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California Irvine's Field Applied Innovation Center.